3 lighthouse keepers disappeared from an island smaller than a football field. There were no boats missing, no bodies in the water, and no other islands nearby. Meaning if the men were still alive, they had nowhere to go. But when the relief ship arrived at the lighthouse in December of 1900, all 3 men were gone. Inside the lighthouse, investigators found an overturned chair, a clock that had stopped, and a logbook entry that ended with a chilling sentence. The storm has passed. Sea calm. God is over all. After that, the log simply stopped, and the 3 lighthouse keepers were never seen again. This is the mystery of the Flannan Isles lighthouse. Off the coast of Scotland lies a chain of small volcanic islands known as the Flannan Isles. They are cold, wind-beaten, and almost completely lifeless. The largest island is called Eilean Moor, and perched high on its cliffs stood a lighthouse built to guide ships through dangerous waters. Before the lighthouse was built, the seas around the Flannan Isles had a terrible reputation. Ships had wrecked on the jagged rocks for generations. Fog could swallow the coastline without warning. And at night, the cliffs were completely invisible. So in 1899, engineers constructed a powerful lighthouse to prevent disasters at sea. The tower stood 75 feet tall. Its light could be seen more than 20 miles away. And keeping that light burning required 3 lighthouse keepers living on the island at all times. Life there was harsh. There were no trees, no protection from the wind, and enormous Atlantic storms regularly slammed into the cliffs with terrifying force. But lighthouse keepers were trained for this life. Their work required discipline, routine, and absolute reliability. Every day followed the same schedule: maintain the lamp, clean the lenses, record weather conditions, and make sure the light never went out. The 3 men stationed on the island in December of 1900 were experienced keepers: James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. They were respected professionals, men trusted with one of the most important navigation lights in the North Atlantic. But sometime during the middle of December, something happened on that island. And after that moment, no one ever saw them again. The first sign that something was wrong came from a passing ship. On December 15th, the steamer Arctur sailed past the Flannan Isles. Crew members noticed something unusual. The lighthouse was dark. No light shone from the tower. At first, the crew assumed the keepers were performing maintenance, but the captain still recorded the observation in the ship's log, because a lighthouse going dark was not normal. Still, no one yet imagined that anything terrible had happened. Several days later, the lighthouse supply ship Hesperus was scheduled to arrive. Its mission was routine: deliver supplies, rotate the crew, and confirm that the lighthouse was operating correctly. But storms delayed the ship's journey, and when the Hesperus finally reached the Flannan Isles, it was December 26th, 11 days after the lighthouse had first been reported dark. As the ship approached the island, something immediately felt wrong. The lighthouse tower stood silent on the cliffs, but no one was waiting at the landing platform. Normally, at least one keeper would come down to greet the ship, but this time, no one appeared. The captain sounded the ship's horn. Once, twice. Still no response. So a small boat was launched, and a relief keeper named Joseph Moore rowed toward the island to investigate. He had no idea he was about to walk into one of the strangest mysteries in maritime history. The climb from the dock to the lighthouse was steep and dangerous. Waves crashed violently against the rocks below. Wind howled across the island. But as Moore approached the lighthouse, the silence became unsettling. No voices, no footsteps, no sign of life anywhere. When Moore reached the lighthouse entrance, the door was closed. But it was unlocked. He stepped inside. The interior looked strangely abandoned. One kitchen chair had been knocked over. The clock on the wall had stopped. And the rooms felt empty, as if the men had vanished suddenly. Moore searched the entire lighthouse. Bedrooms, storage rooms, engine room. But the keepers were nowhere to be found. 2 heavy raincoats were missing, but the third coat still hung beside the door, which suggested something strange. Because lighthouse rules were strict, keepers never went outside during storms without protective gear. Yet somehow, one of the men had apparently left without it. Then Moore discovered the lighthouse logbook, and what it contained made the mystery even stranger. The entries described a violent storm battering the island, winds so powerful they shook the tower. One keeper even wrote that another man had been crying, which was extremely unusual. These were hardened lighthouse keepers, men used to brutal storms. Yet according to the log, something about this storm had terrified them. But there was a problem. Weather reports from nearby ships recorded no major storm during those days. The sea had been rough, but nothing extraordinary. So why did the keepers describe conditions so severe? And why did the final log entry end so strangely? The storm has passed. Sea calm. God is over all. After that, the log simply stopped. No more entries, no explanation, and no trace of the 3 men who were supposed to be there. More than 100 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. 3 experienced lighthouse keepers vanished from a tiny island with nowhere to hide. No witnesses, no bodies, and no confirmed explanation. Did a massive rogue wave sweep them into the ocean? Did they attempt a rescue that went terribly wrong? Or did something far stranger happen on that lonely island? Because whatever the truth may be, the lighthouse went dark, and the men who were supposed to keep it burning were never seen again.